To order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Randy Burke.
Here.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar.
Here.
Commissioner Darren Indovino.
Here. Everyone please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we've got to pick someone to stand by the flag whose shoulders aren't so broad. Okay.
Yes, that would be me.
The first thing on the agenda is a proclamation, and this is, where do you want us to stand here? Where do you want us to stand?
We can do it in front of the...
Christy,
yes.
You'll come up with
yes.
us?
Is it okay if I bring my colleague with me? Is that okay?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. This is a proclamation about the Head Start program here in Monett, and I think everyone knows they provide valuable services, particularly for those kids that are getting ready to go into school. And didn't have it when I grew up, and I think my mom would have really appreciated that.
Aww.
So, Chris, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Christy Griffith. I'm actually a member. I live here in the community, and so I'm also the supervisor for our Head Start and Early Head Start program that operates here in Monett.
Okay.
And this is, yeah.
I'm the family advocate who enrolls the kids in Head Start.
Yeah.
Here in Monett.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for what you do. But we're going to make it official.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
This is about Head Start Day on the 18th of May, 2025. Whereas the Head Start program was established in 1965 as part of President Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty, with a mission of promoting school readiness for children from low-income families, providing comprehensive early childhood education, health, nutrition, and parent involvement services. And whereas for 60 years, Head Start has been the cornerstone in communities across the nation, fostering the development and success of millions of children and families through high-quality early learning experiences. And whereas the dedicated educators, staff, and volunteers of Head Start programs work tirelessly to ensure that children enter school prepared to succeed, helping to break the cycle of poverty and build brighter futures. And whereas the Head Start program in the city of Monett has been instrumental in providing critical early childhood services to local families, strengthening our community, and shaping a generation of leaders. And whereas on this milestone 60th anniversary, we recognize and celebrate the profound impact of Head Start and reaffirm our commitment to supporting early childhood education and family well-being. Now, therefore, I, Randy Burke, Mayor of Monett, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the 18th of May as Head Start Day. And in witness, I have hereunto set my hand and caused a seal of Monett in the state of Missouri to be affixed. So,
so much.
Now, were you alive when Lyndon Johnson was president?
I was not.
Okay. How many people are alive now? We're not going to take them away. But thanks for coming.
Thank you. Can we say thank you for this out there?
Oh, sure, by all means.
No, this is perfect. Thank you. We just want to tell you thank you so much to the city of Monett and to you guys for doing this for us. It means a lot to get to be a part of this community, and we really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much.
Well, thanks for what you do. Now, Kelly, can you make a little frame? Put this in a frame for me.
Are you sure? Is that
Yeah,
it?
we'll put the frame.
I've got one.
We'll supply the frame too.
Oh, okay. All right. This is
I've
great.
got one, so I'll put it in there.
Okay,
So,
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Do you mean
All right.
just come back by and pick it up?
That
you
would be
about a little
perfect.
bit.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
Christy.
much. Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you again.
Oh, are there any, from the commissioners, any changes to the agenda?
None.
Okay, let's move on to B, Kelly.
A resolution demonstrating commitment to enhancing public safety within the city of Monett, Missouri.
Are there any questions? Chief Dowd can speak to this.
Well, I don't see any dollar figures. This is the purpose of this. I mean, we all agree, all of us up here agree on that public safety is a priority. It's the only thing we must do as a city, as public safety down here in Monett. So go ahead, George.
Yes, sir. What it is, we're trying to be qualified for the Blue Shields, Executive Order 2503 that was issued this year. And part of that is resolution by the City Council that furthers the support of law enforcement, public safety, and community. And that will make us eligible for our $10 million grant cycle this coming year. It's already been approved.
Okay. Yeah, I've read the language in there, and I would have reinforced, yeah, sir, public safety is pretty important. It mentions a few other things in there. We have any motions? We're not going to, any discussion by the commissioners on this one?
I just wondered if the reason for this resolution was that executive order. So if we did not have this resolution, we would not be eligible for those grants?
That's correct, sir.
Interesting. Are we voting on this today?
We're not going to vote on this today. Do we need to vote? Is it time sensitive? You need it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
so
move that we approve Bill number 9073.
I'll second, please.
Call the roll?
Mayor Reedy Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner King Gaspar,
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
Okay, please read item C, please.
Discussion regarding Main Street funding.
All right, Darren.
Good morning.
Since you're the,
Yep.
go ahead and take
I
the
have
lead on this.
I have sat on the board with Monett Main Street since February of this year. Honored to be there. They have approached us with a contractor's fee, basically for the executive director of their firm to have a salary given to the executive director for a certain amount. And basically what we want to do, and if it's okay with the mayor, if I may ask, if they have any conversation or discussion, would you allow them to speak to this if they happen to have something to weigh in on?
Sure.
Because I prepared this for you, and I'll explain it.
To make the rules clear, if anyone up here wants someone to talk, you can do that.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you. So the city has already a donatable fee that we give them and have been giving them since 2012 as they become an organization on their own. And they now have a new executive director who has been named and placed, and a president. And they are moving forward with a lot of stuff. We got a great momentum factor going on Broadway, and they've created some flow. We've got some wheels spinning underneath them, and I think that they're doing phenomenal, having their board present here, a number of them. But the city makes a monetary donation, and then we just did a approval for fees that would be covered for their farmers market and repurpose fair, as the city will obviously make an amendment to fund the rental of our pavilion and our services from the city, as that adds into the monies that we have given them annually. If you look at the top of these sheets that I gave you, gentlemen, it is the city's donation at the top, the farmers market, what it would be for 22 weeks of the rental of the pavilion and cleanup, and then the one for the repurpose fair. So add that together, it comes out to that number that I have underneath that as a city's donation currently, and that's what is affected in 2025. That's exactly where we'll be on just those three things. So the city has agreed in budget for the donation at the top, and then the farmers market and the fee for the repurpose fair as the rental, cleanup, setup, and more is presented to them by the city, which is generous, as the city wants to work with these organizations, Chamber of Commerce included, First on Front, and more. So I think that these fees from the city is a generous outpouring to these kind of functions that allow the city itself, the citizens, to be part of the functions of these organizations, which is great. Personally, there's a few other numbers that I want to show you. They do a wonderful job with the donation that we already give them on an annual basis that we have approved in the budget. If you look on the bottom of the sheet, on the first page, at $20,998 is basically what they are spending from that donation that we give them. So they are basically within budget. They do a good job as far as financially putting these numbers forward, these donations forward to, make the Monett Main Street work. So the question now is the request of a full-time executive director salary, and that's exactly what we want to talk about today. If you look on the bottom in the middle where it says contractors, here in the middle, bottom underneath the red, that is the proposed amount presented to the executive director to maintain her salary from the city. And that's exactly the request of why we're here today. If you want me to speak these numbers out loud, I'll be happy to if you choose to. But it's a request for funding to back up grants and more as the years goes on, as they try to build a bigger and broader Broadway. Personally, if we could have that discussion now, there are a few things that are concerning. If you want to start with that factor, we'll talk about the number itself, where we're in a pay wage study. We have city employees and stuff like that who some are in this room that don't have that type of funding to them as a city employee. I just find personally that I think that the line item funding would be a better support mechanism from the city as these things approach, instead of just a roundabout way of asking for a fee from the city. In other words, if we could have something presented to us daily, weekly, monthly, however they want to present these to us as a city, and we can approve these numbers for a budget, it would be, per event, if I could put it that way. And so they'll want support from the city. I don't have any problem supporting this function or this cause. I think that we can do better by doing it as a line item, meaning that as these quotes and grants and more come forward, we could be the support mechanism as needed as they come about. Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood all that, but
I jumped around.
What I do see is the Main Street draft budget, which I am assuming was approved by
Yes, it was.
Main Street, and it's a deficit budget to the tune of $39,000 plus change. My observation with Main Street, they have an executive director down there, and they have a new board, and they also have a plan, and the plan will allow them to get through get money from Missouri Main Street. They've reconnected with Main Street, and so they've got some momentum there. We give them $25,000 now. What are you recommending?
As far as the contractor's fee for the full-time executive director, instead of making it a salary request, make it a support mechanism from the city as different things happen throughout the course of the year, because you'll get approved for some grants and some grants you won't. We want to make sure that we support the grants funding so we can match it if requested by the executive director.
So they put in money and we match it?
If the city approves that. Instead of just giving the bulk, because the bulk isn't really defined other than a salary, okay? So if we did that, then is there going to be a mechanism for more backing support if they exceed that?
Well, I would like to agree on an amount and then let them move with the law, rather than piecemeal as we go through, because we don't know how much that's going to be.
Well, that's exactly right. We don't know how much it's going to be throughout the course of the year, how many things are on the table. There are grants that she is, presenting to the council of their council, and as these things come forward, some will be approved, some won't by the grant. The person who supports the grant, the company, was the grantor. I would assume that would be the word. So basically, I just don't have enough definition to, it's a one-time request and it's listed under salary. It's a one-time request listed under salary. It's not spent on.
I agree to the
Monett Main
one-time
Street.
request. What I don't agree to is kind of an open-ended there. We're going to help you.
Well,
I think
if
need
we
come
agree to
out with
support
something
them,
right away.
well, we just did Mickey and did this with the Chamber of Commerce and Monett Main Street. He did the MOU for both of them, and agreement has yet to be accepted by Monett Main Street on theirs.
Oh, we haven't come, yeah, we haven't come up with it yet. That's something we're gonna talk about later on in the agenda.
Right. Okay, well, this is discussion. I'm looking at line item funding as each is presented as a recommendation from myself. Total support for the cause of Monett Main Street, what they may present to us throughout the course of an annual, and use it that way instead of a one-time, because exactly what does the definition of that happen next year? Is there going to be another request for another, if anybody could help me with
No,
this
that's why
one,
it's
if you
one
know.
time. That's why it's one time.
Yeah,
So
but
we
it's
decided to do it. We
one
do it now.
time and salary. See, I just don't get next year's 2026 salary. Is there going to be a salary request for that? And that's just very
Well,
important
it's-
to me.
Go ahead.
I'd be happy to explain a
Go
little
ahead.
better. So we're asking for a one-time influx of funding to pay for our current executive director. We're not asking
Right.
the city to pay her salary. We're asking for you to give us money to have her. The reason being is because in order to be a part of Missouri Main Street and Main Street America organizations, you have to have a full-time executive director. We have not been a part of that for the last several years, and we're missing out on grant opportunities, additional funding, and such, because we have not been able to have an executive director. We are just asking for the one-time fee to be given to us in addition to the current funding you already give to support her salary and any additional things we need to do as far as trainings, organizational fees to be a part of those groups. Once we have that initial payment, she can apply for all these grants and additional funding. We're not asking you to do this every year. We're not going to come back and ask you for more money. This is a one-time influx to kind of get the ball rolling so we can move this forward.
Can it be titled something other than salary?
We didn't want it to be titled salary. We're just asking for one-time additional funding. Doesn't necessarily have to be done as it could be a donation, however you need to write it in. We just need this one-time, like I said, influx of funding in order to get additional funding to keep continuing to pay for her salary moving forward.
And then what's exactly the number was it derived from? I mean, the 62.4 was derived from.
That's just her full-time working salary throughout the year. That's a cap. So if she works less, she gets paid less. We're paying her on a 1099 capacity, and that's how we're going to keep it. So she is just being contracted through Monett Main Street to be our executive director.
And we
as a full-time.
and you're asking the city to pay her salary for
No,
her
we're
director
asking
position.
the city for a one-time funding influx
Right.
to be able to have the funds to pay a salary to an executive director so we can apply for grants and we can be members of Missouri Main Street and the Main Street American organization.
Okay. Again, and I don't mean to be contradictory. The requested number I haven't seen enough from her on the support mechanism as to where that number came up from. And
Which number
forgive me
are
if
you
I don't know.
talking about?
$62,400.
That's not what we asked for.
Yeah, I know it was $75.
Yes.
Technically more.
Probably one of your pens.
Sharon, could I provide some background information?
Darren, do you recognize my?
Yeah, Mike, I'll recognize you.
Just some background information. The Missouri State Constitution and several state attorney general's opinions that I could provide to the city specify that the city cannot give away money. You cannot give away money unless it serves a municipal purpose, basically. So you would have to contract to provide money to Main Street, which you've done in the past, for a specific purpose that benefits the city. So like you could say that the money was going to be used to promote the downtown, promote economic development within the community, which is, I think, the way the Chamber's contract is written. But it does need to be tagged to a certain thing that benefits the city.
Right. Which is what I'm thinking line itemization as these things come forward, if that's possible. You know, there's a project, I don't know exactly, can we just use an example, silo roof? Is that feasible to talk about funding for it? Is that part of the $75,000 request? You know, and the banner project and more of the things that are presented to their board, which is all very doable within the scope of the donations, or I guess you want to just call it the funding from the city. It's absolutely not out of question. I just have the issue of the hourly, I guess just the salary, the easy way to say it. So if I could get these numbers from her, and that's fine if I can still work with her, to find out how we arrived at this funding number, it would be substantial to me.
Have you already not had discussions?
We have some, but I haven't defined it to come up with the balance due of that number that is requested.
Well, let me ask you this. The budget you approved, Alyssa, the 38,000, does this include it includes the initial 25, does it include anything else?
No, just not from the city. No,
Okay.
that's all. And as part of our revamp board, our new vision, our 5-year plan that we have, our economic development that we're trying to move forward with the downtown. I mean, we're trying to do more events, and to do more events, to make more money, to do things to help
Right.
the downtown forward, you have to have an executive director. I mean, that's the reason
Totally
Main
agree.
Street has been what I would like to say fairly stagnant in the last several years, because you have to have somebody leading the ship, okay? And so now that we have that, there's definitely a lot more momentum. I mean, you've sat in the room, Ken sat in the room, Randy's been a part of meetings in the past. Things are definitely moving forward. We don't want to squash that because we don't have the funds to pay.
And we don't want to squash it neither. We want to be totally in support. At least I feel like we should be totally in support. The just again, it's just the term salary, and the term of $68,400 has not been presented to me as to how it equals that number. If I could,
So you don't know how the salary.
I don't understand how we came to that number.
That is a full-time contractual salary based on an hourly rate that we have agreed to pay her.
Based on 40 hours a week, right?
Yes, as a full-time position.
Okay, so you want us to agree to the same agreement that Monett Main Street's board has agreed to at $30 an hour for a 40-hour-a-week position?
We're not necessarily asking you to pay her salary. It doesn't matter to us how you.
Well, you know, that's great.
This is for downtown economic development.
Agreed.
Okay, and for us to get money, we got to be part of Main Street.
And
we have to have an executive director.
Agreed. And they need working capital.
It's one time.
I totally agree.
And I see. And can you live with 25,000 now to get you closer out of the hole and we review it in 6 months?
Well, again,
give them a chance to get going.
I don't want to not give them a chance, to be totally honest. I mean, they have momentum, and I want to keep it going. I was a total advocate of wanting to support Main Street downtown during our election last year. It's all part of what we want to see for the future of Monett, and revitalizing Broadway and its surrounding community is paramount. It truly is. We want to make things happen. That's why I was wondering, and the request from myself only, is instead of a bulk number, can we just do things as they happen down Main Street? That if you want to buy something, you want to build something, you want to repair something.
What's the mechanism we're going to come back to the
Well,
city
again, it
council
has
and
to
approve
be-
every line item?
Well,
I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
well, it doesn't make sense to me in my perspective as to the number as to where we got today for the 75,000. I mean, it's just
We're not
built up.
talking about 75. I just propose that we give them 25 now, and then in 6 months, we look at where we're at.
No, we already have. Is that in addition to the 25?
That's the
we're giving them too?
25,000, so we've already given them 25,000. Well,
Okay,
that's in
but
the
that's
budget.
It's a
We give them
different.
25,000 because they've got a very aggressive schedule. And I think if we're going to do economic development downtown, because that's what I ran on, it's what we both ran on,
I know.
what it does is it gives them some breathing room. And remember, what Alyssa's saying, it's a one-time thing. It is not something we're going to do every year.
But the confusing part to me, if I may one more time, the total amount requested includes a salary,
What is the total amount requested?
75,000.
75,000 additional?
Yes, sir.
I also
Is that
want to
correct?
point out that your budget spreadsheet is not correct. The revenue is overstated by $2,600. So under programs column, it shows a $2,600 total. There's no detail, so if that $2,600 is actual, then it needs to be defined what line item that goes to. So if we take out the 2,600, your total revenue is only 60,300, so your deficit is $42,077. So a deficit budget was approved.
Yes. You don't have an option at this point.
See this column here. There's no detail line item. The 2,600. So that 2,600 is in the 62,900. So it's really 60,300, making the deficit 42,000.
Okay.
Can I interject something? A new member of the board?
Yes, Rod, I will direct.
Okay. I just got on there, not knowing really what Main Street is all about, not knowing where they're going. And I've observed in the last 3 months, 4 months, downtown, our project isn't just event planning. Our vision is to improve the storefronts that are just sitting there deteriorating. We have spent a lot of time and a lot of money to itemize ownership and their conditioning, and it takes money to make money. These grants don't just materialize because you point out a grant. It takes an investment to make that grant happen. And that's part of what that is an investment to make the grants happen.
I do agree with
And
that.
if you don't want to invest in it, let us know. I won't waste my time anymore.
Rob,
That is really what it's all about.
there's nothing here is a waste of time. We want to come to, I do want to come to where the numbers match. And that's what I'm asking. So I mean, is that even enough? If buildings, like you said,
whether you want to improve property or not.
continue-
And we've expanded that area too.
Continue
other than just
deterioration.
Down 4 blocks.
correct?
So
But we
you got to
have
look at how
falling
you're going to
infrastructure.
revitalize something that's going to make you more money in the long run.
Is this enough money? You know, is it too much money? Which one is it? Because you have deterioration of some of the buildings downtown now. Is this technically, if this happens, is this going to be the beginning of another request for more if it's not enough? Follow me? So that's why we're having a discussion, sir.
Plans in place.
And we
I'm
want to
just
make
saying,
sure.
Plans in place.
It's not a big ask to revitalize.
We're gonna
something.
continue
Well,
If you can get the, if
work
you
on
can jump.
I agree with that. It's not a big ask. It's not. But again, as we sit here as a board and we are currently in a wage study and we're paying our people in our city, funds for their workmanship for us as an employee, it just kind of goes up against some of the things that we're doing if we have to use it as a salary. And that's where my whole dilemma is the salary part. If it's a support mechanism, the mayor wants to.
Well, you're comparing the wage study. I mean, that's not a fair comparison.
Well, no, but it
We're
just
talking
happens
about
to be
economic
current.
development downtown.
But
All right, and we don't need to micromanage their budget for them. What we do is they have a budget, they passed it, they've come up with their own. They need a little help one time to get the thing moving.
that's supportive. That's totally supportive. I would totally agree with that as you spoke it.
Okay, so what we have to decide on is how much, right?
Well, that's where I come up with the line item idea, if that's recognizable by y'all.
I don't think.
In other words,
that's-
as a project comes forward, we can agree as a request as they need funding for that line item, whatever it may be.
No, I disagree with that. That means we're micromanaging the budget for the Main Street, and we don't need to do that.
We have representation on that board.
That's right.
I serve
yeah.
on there, Mike serves on there, not as a city representative, but as an individual. And then our commissioner is Darren.
We got plenty of representation as we go down there. So it's not going to be uninformed. It's just they need some money now up front, get it going, and like I said, the 25,000 is what additional is what I'd like to do, and then based on as development increases and things change, we consider another 25,000 after 6 months. And if we don't need to do it, we won't do it.
That's only 50. They're asking for 75.
I think that's a little high, because you got the 25, then you got another 75 is 100.
But the 25 is already in their budget.
What I'm saying, they're asking for an additional 75, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I think we give 25 now, and then we consider it based on how things evolve in 6 months, and consider 25. Maybe we can consider more.
50.
And can I interject, Mayor?
Yeah.
I mean, we're happy to, the proof is in the pudding, and we're happy to demonstrate what we're doing and prove to you that we're using that money really for the benefit of the community. So, I personally, from the accounting side of things, I totally get it. I understand where you're coming from, and looking at a negative number, on the bottom line, that's scary. I don't like it either. That's part of the reason we're coming and we're asking. In order for us to grow, we've got to have money coming in. And in order for us to have money coming in, we've got to spend the money on somebody to research those grants, to apply for those grants, to write the applications. And that's a lot of time spent. So that is part of it. But that money is really going back into the community.
Just out of curiosity, does Missouri Main Street or U.S. Main Street have any grant opportunities for new Main Street organizations starting up to give them that seed money?
Not
But I know
seed
we're not
money,
new.
But essentially, so we've been going to some meetings at Aurora. Aurora just did a whole bunch of stuff downtown. They've received a lot of grant funding. They've received a lot of free things through different organizations to tear down old buildings, revamp, do facades, stuff like that. And they have put together a whole board, and theirs came from joining the Main Street America and Missouri Main Street programs, which we have not been able to be a part of.
Okay.
And so that's just a close, it just goes to show you what other towns are doing, because they're able to be a part of that organization. It is vital for Monett Main Street. If we can't move forward with this, I mean, I don't see this being a thing in the next couple of years.
So with Aurora, when they started their organization, when they started, they were already a member of Missouri Main Street?
No, they had city fund support too, didn't they?
Okay.
They've had city support, and then they've recently joined, I would say in the last couple of years, but this year they received funding from those organizations to do several big projects in their downtown.
Right, but in order for them to receive those funds, they had to have an executive director full time.
Correct.
Right.
Just like we.
Right.
just like
Right.
we have.
But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is,
Where did they get their money?
thank you.
They're
We're assuming it came from the city. I don't know that
Yeah,
for sure.
that's what I've heard. Just being a part of the chamber there in Aurora, that's what I've heard is that between the chamber and the city that they support.
Yeah, what I do know is after they got their executive director and they had a plan, they got $60,000 from Missouri Main Street. And that's just having a plan without doing it.
Yeah, I don't doubt all those opportunities open up. I'm just trying to figure out the foundation of it, how they began versus how we began. Because as we know, this has been in since 2011, you said? When Monett Main Street organized?
These are 2012, but I want to
12.
point out, if you go on the Monett City website, if you go on the City of Monett Facebook, what's the things that are on there? The silo, the train mural, the pavilion, all projects done by Monett Main Street. That's kind of the pride and joy of this area that we have given to the city because we've been able to do these things. So we're asking to be able to continue to do these things we want to do. We just need that one-time additional funding.
I think also we need to remind the council that we just engaged with Joe Lauber. He's our special counsel for economic development. Joe was on the board of Missouri Main Street for 12 years. He's very familiar with downtowns. That's one of the topics that we're lined up to speak with Joe about. So there's support and for downtown.
I agree.
Can we pledge funding pending conversations with Joe?
I think we would want to do that anyway, because we heard comments just a few moments ago about contracts and giving money, but he can draft all that up for us, and so that we do this correctly and above board.
Right.
Okay, so I hear your motion is to check with the lawyers first before we do this. From a contract.
There's no motion, I don't think. I don't think there's anything that we're voting to approve.
Yeah, we're
right here.
engaged with Joe, so it's just us contacting him.
All I'm saying is that, if we're giving verbal acknowledgement that this city council would like to see the Monett Main Street succeed. So we are pledging support. We don't know what that looks like as far as a dollar amount or time,
Which
right?
is-
All I'm saying is,
Yeah.
am I in favor of supporting Monett Main Street organization? Yes, because of the long-term economic development. But
Okay.
is that to the tune of $100,000? I can't sit here right now and say yes.
Well, I
I
agree
need
with you.
more.
I think $100,000 is too much.
I don't know if it is.
Right.
I'm just saying I can.
That's my
I can
point
pledge.
exactly. That's why I figured a line item as these things progress until we reach a cap or some kind of funding number that is totally in support. I'm 100% in support.
My hope is that Mr. Lauber tells us something we don't know, and there's funding out there somewhere other than the city of Monett's checkbook that could help. But I'm willing to utilize the attorney that we are paying for to help with that. And if there isn't anything, then we determine what the right number is. That's what I'm supporting.
And we wouldn't do the vote until June, because I think we need time.
Right.
All right.
But it's not a no.
That's
from me.
fair enough.
It's
Yeah,
definitely not a
not a
no.
Very
I
good.
just
Yeah.
want definition, simply. And the only definition I got was what you already have, which was this. And I want more, and I'm asking for more. And we need to sit down and talk more, Serena and the rest of us, about what is on the table. We want to support the organization wholly. We do. We want to give it its ability to succeed. We do. And I just can't wrap my arms around the numbers as presented without any backing definition or explanatory number as to what we come up with.
If what you're after,
conversation.
if what you're after is some assurance that the Monett Main Street organization is spending its money wisely, I can respect that.
Well, yeah, the
But
city
you
wants to see
do
it
have a
in
seat at the
return.
table. So
Yes, sir, I know. I mean, we just haven't had enough of this conversation for the explanatory reasons.
And I don't know
Minus
if that's
that word
I don't know
budget.
if that's a conversation
I'm sorry,
at this table.
Salary.
But I appreciate your approach. I just don't know if that's for this table.
Correct.
Well, Darren, we're happy to review that though, too, because we want you to feel comfortable with the numbers that are there. So I haven't seen this document, but I think we'd be happy to sit down and justify the numbers.
The budget.
It's the budget.
Oh, just the budget.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on for the last month.
Well, we sent the ask letter several months ago, so we weren't aware that you didn't know
If she
what it
was,
for.
I'm sure. Because we have had our private time, but again, I still have questions.
We don't have a letter. The clerk doesn't have a letter. So.
I've sent multiple letters.
Um,
Signed.
I can only remember one that you signed for the 75. If there's more, I don't have it.
There's an
All right,
additional-
let's do this. Let's get the letters in hand, so we have that. We do a legal review, and we can work on this and agree to amount, and then we'll vote on after we completed that. We'll figure out a figure. Cassie, talk to Darren.
Is this the letter we're talking about?
That is
75?
one of the letters.
That's the only one I've got. As you may
I
not
believe
know.
the letter was also sent to the entire board.
And I'll send it to Kelly and she could duplicate it for us.
All right, let's get some more
I'll send you
information.
the letter.
So that's what we'll do, and we'll set up for a vote at the regular city council meeting on 12 June. Any other discussion?
Any other?
Okay, thank you all. Let's move to the next item, please. Item D.
Discussion regarding an ordinance to conduct a wage study during a defined period of time for the employees of the city of Monett, Missouri.
This was a item that was raised within the management team, the department heads, just concerning putting an ordinance in place that would assure our employees, city employees, that a wage study would be conducted every 3 years. This is a draft ordinance. We won't vote on this until June 12th. The ordinance doesn't guarantee that you're going to implement. It simply is that you're going to do a wage study, because implementation would come if there's funding, if there's the budget, all of those other items. This is just an assurance that telling our city employees that we're going to continue to look at wages, and it's it's a high priority for retention.
I hope my question doesn't
Yep.
appear not in support of this regular cadence in reviewing the salaries, because I do feel that. But does it really require an ordinance? Should this be a policy? Should this be an HR policy, administrative policy? I'm asking.
I think it could be a policy, but historically in the city, my understanding is that there have been wage studies done and nothing has been done from them. This is just an assurance that, by ordinance, that you're going to conduct them. It's semantics, but it's an
Well, I think
assurance.
what it does is it shows our commitment to retention and making sure the salaries are commensurate with.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I was in favor of it under the previous council, and still, for me, an ordinance is long lasting, and that we're putting this on future councils. So,
Well, I think that we need to. I think we need to do our commitment to do that. I think this the contract, because it has not been done well in the past. And an HR policy is one thing, but an ordinance, if someone wants to change it, they'll have to come back and review it, and then change that ordinance.
but the ordinance doesn't guarantee implementation
That's
or
correct.
even a successful outcome.
That is correct.
Right?
Agreed.
I just think, to me, an ordinance just seems a bit much. I would think this an administrative policy or an HR policy type thing would suffice. If we approve, if we prefer the ordinance route, that's fine. It's long lasting.
Right, and with one of the wage studies on the table now that we just conducted, would make the next wage study in 3 years a much simpler process because we have a structure.
The way that you do it is not defined in the ordinance. So you could do this one was a market comparison. You could do a true wage study. You could do a comparative analysis of every position. The methodology isn't defined in here. So, and I don't think you want to define it.
So prior to this
I
one,
know.
Yeah.
when did we do the last wage study? Prior to this past one?
2004, I believe.
2000.
Yeah. And so that's just it. And I don't know what our policy was, but we didn't have a policy in place. And so that was a big complaint, even before the election. Hey, our wage stuff is wages. And this is input that comes from the department heads, and the department heads say the city council has agreed by ordinance and we're going to go review salaries at some period this year.
I get it. I do. An ordinance is weighty. It means something. If future councils fail for not for any lack of want, there's implications, right? Because that's the law. Ordinance is a law. I don't know.
I think it
I'm open.
I think it demonstrates our commitment, and even in the future, to go back and look at. Now, let me ask you this, George. Yeah, Dave, and your input on this. The 3 years periodicity, what was that based on? I mean, I know that came from the group, but what's the rationale for every 3 years?
Generally, the market study is good for that amount of time. The area changes, so the market changes. So if you take a number, that number doesn't stay stagnant through cost of inflation, competitive wages. So that study is only good for a certain amount of time. This came from a provider, always naked to be paid for, and also with common practice.
Okay.
I'm not discounting the process at all. I'm just asking why do we want to have it as an ordinance versus a policy? We don't have policies today. We need policies across the board, this being one.
I fully understand your concern, but again, it came out of department head discussion. I supported it. I wrote it.
Because what about an ordinance to review health benefits? What about an ordinance to review paid time off processes and payouts and things like that? Those are all policies to me. If this to me sets a precedent, right? So if that's the route,
Would the insurance policies and stuff mentioned be part of a wage study at the same time?
No, sir.
So it's a different study. What does our auditor
to the
say?
4 quarters of this document exactly what it's to do, and it doesn't even. It doesn't say with whom, how.
What's your
It's just
recommendation
when.
from an ordinance then?
It's just the what
It's
and
just
when.
It's the frequency and
Right.
that it has to be conducted.
What would
Yeah,
be your
you got a
recommendation?
point on the health, but as I recall, and I haven't been there that long, is we go back and review all those health benefits every year, right?
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
that's something we have to do every year anyway.
No, we could choose not to do. We could choose not to make any changes. We could choose to not even provide health benefits.
Right.
The reason why we're reviewing it every year is because the insurance company is presenting a new rate, and then we are asking, what are we getting for that rate?
Yeah, our broker is looking at carriers and shopping the market for us.
Yeah. So I want a recurrence of a wage study. I just don't prefer it being an ordinance.
Which makes it mandatory every 3
So
years.
we're not deciding anything today.
No, it's a draft.
Yep, I'm putting
It's a
that out.
draft.
So my preference would be that we have a series of policies that this is incorporated within.
Personally, I don't mind a review anytime, annually, 3 years. I'm just saying I'm not opposed to a review.
If you don't want to do it annually, it's pretty expensive.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not opposed to any of that. I do understand your point in making it lawful to the next council and moving forward.
Okay. Well, and then what else, right? So if it is a policy, then everything else we do.
And I would agree, we are lacking on policies in the city. So we need to work on our policies, we need to strengthen our policies. And this is something we could
So,
research on.
so discussion here, it sounds like to put it in a policy, write it up as a policy instead of an ordinance.
Yeah, and we now have an HR generalist as of yesterday. So, and their input would be beneficial here. We also now have a city attorney. Their input would be beneficial.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't have that before.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have any problems going with it, writing up a policy. Okay, item E, please.
Discussion regarding the supplemental agreement number 2 for engineering services between the City of Monett, Missouri and Anderson Engineering, Inc. for the design of the Chapel Drive overpass.
The agreement is in your package, and then we have representatives from OWN here to speak to this. Do you have questions about this?
Well, I did have questions.
Okay.
Okay. So if I read this first paragraph, we've got a bunch of consultants out here, and correct me if I'm wrong, and what we're doing is we're bringing them down to just, I guess, OWN, right? You're going to be the single point of contact as we execute. I mean, is that correct?
We always have been. Owen Anderson has always been the primary consultant. They've had 4 or 5 different sub-consultants throughout the project.
And what we're doing is we're taking them off.
Greg can explain something.
Okay, great. Yeah, why don't you go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Parker. I am with OWN. I'm the department manager for the public infrastructure side of our area of expertise. And if you don't mind, I'd like to pass that. Maybe you can just pass those around. And I thought it would be good to, if you have time, to maybe just, you want me to stand or sit down? What would you prefer?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Okay.
Is it one page? One page?
Single page.
Yeah, just it's the same page. They're all identical.
I didn't read it before I passed it.
I started with OWN in January of this year, so I'm picking up a lot of information on this project and others since then. But I thought it would be good, since we may have some new faces, just to go over where we are at with the timeline on this project so that everybody is on the same page. And I think most of you know we signed a contract in February of 21. We executed that. And at that time, we had acquired or had been approved to expend MoDOT funds for this project. And over time, that changed. So in October of 22, before me, these are all before me, we then put together, right, we put together a grant, an RCE grant to receive additional funding for this project as we were, I think, having a better handle of what the expectation was for it. And it appeared at the same time that the Chrissy, Kevin, if you could jump in and help me out with this, but the Chrissy grant, we also then put that grant together. So or at that time, Anderson put that Chrissy grant. So we were running two parallel grants together at the time. And as I understand, the RCE was not awarded. But we did receive the Chrissy grant, which has been very favorable for this project, as you can see here. So in July of 23, negative on the RCE, in October of 23, so it almost took a year to get the Chrissy grant approved. In that timeline, Anderson Engineering, continued on the design for the project. So you can see from 11/23 to 10/24, we were continuing with roadway and bridge designs. 10/24, the Chrissy grant was received. 11/24, we had 60% plan approval from FRA, Federal Rail. In April of 25, we had our 90% approval. And we are sitting here talking to you now at the end of this month. So the plans are ready to go. We will have all plans completed, specifications and contracts by the end of this month. And our goal is to, and as you can see through the process here, that we have to send that to BNSF first for review. And we're anticipating maybe a month review. We're hopeful, might be less, might be more. Cross our fingers. So we're looking at a 30-day BNSF. Once they have had their opportunity to give a review of our plans, we will then have to ship that same set of plans and documents to the FRA for their review. So we are hoping probably another 30 days. And then, during these review periods, they have the opportunity to give comments on plans. And then we would go back and modify and make those modifications to the plans as needed. FRA, same thing. Once FRA has approved it, then we would ship those plans and specifications to MoDOT for approval. And they, as part of the LPA, have 30 days to give comments.
Good. 30 days?
So it seems to be a little bit of a 30-30-30. We're looking at 90 days out once we get to the end of this month. And based on that timeline, we are hopeful and anticipating looking at a letting as early as September, maybe earlier, but we're looking at a letting timeline September. And as you know, it takes 30 days to open up the bids, and it'll take 30 days to get contracts signed. So we're talking 5 months at this point. So we'd be looking at November, probably at the earliest to get.
This is when we start putting the shovel on the ground.
Well, it depends on the weather.
That's your best guess, though.
At this point, probably November. Is
Okay.
what we're looking at.
Now, I understand there's a lot of factors in there.
It could be tighter, might be longer.
But there's no obstacles. You just kind of laid out the major steps.
Yes.
30-30-30.
Yes,
That's
and
your
I know that Kevin is working on getting the easements, the right-of-way completed, so that may be a hinging factor as well.
Okay.
Just to add that, Mayor, the right-of-way has been secured for all the project. We've had a couple of property owners, as you know, we've had to actually acquire.
Yeah.
We got a change in ownership on one of them that we talked to the property owner again yesterday about the project. We're in the process of moving utilities. And the Chrissy grant, when this thing started, we didn't have a Chrissy grant. We didn't have a grant. And the funding was, to fund the whole project was still kind of all relied on the city's side at the beginning of this thing. So when the Chrissy grant got involved, we ran across new hurdles that none of us had been exposed to before. The BNSF helped assist with the applications to get the funding, which is a major hurdle, and we did get the just shy of $5 million funding. So there's been a lot of things that they've listed in their supplemental agreement that revolves around all these meetings with Chrissy. We've had 4 different engineers change with FRA. We've had at least 3 or 4 different project managers change with the Chrissy grant from FRA. So it's been a moving target every month that we've met. It's settled down the last couple of months, and everybody is moving knows it's really close to getting this project to go forward. We've got 3 major hurdles that we have to complete, which Mickey and I had a conversation with HDR, which is working for BNSF, that's trying to push this thing to obligation stage, get the money funded. But we're dealing with the railroad, so that just gives you a short synopsis of what we've been dealing with over the last 4 years, basically. So.
It has, as I understand it, been a pretty challenging project. It's been complex. There have been changes.
I hear what we're saying there, but the bottom line is, are we asking for the city for another $143,000?
That's what.
Correct.
Okay, and that is because the price has gone up. We've had to go through some unexpected hurdles. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's unexpected. So it's more than just bringing contractors. It is to keep this project going because we've had to overcome unforeseen obstacles.
And they've got it listed on their second page. They've taken away some.
Roll that up.
Right.
Okay. All right. So the total design. So whoever you just okay. Go ahead.
Me? Oh, you're looking.
I'm looking
Sorry.
at there right now. Okay. So this is a list of. I don't have the bottom line in front of me. This is a list of the extra things that we. Okay, so they're all associated with these extra.
Those are coming off.
Those are coming off, and then Mike, keep scrolling.
There's another page.
So we're deleting those. Okay,
Yeah.
we're leaving $54,000, and we're adding $198,000.
Well, bottom is 143.
Yeah.
So the net's 143.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Net.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. So the total, yeah.
So those items that we're deleting, those services are just no longer required, no longer needed?
So to some extent, yes.
Okay.
The mustard seed cultural resources, that is not needed as part of this project. When we changed the funding source, that went away.
Okay.
The other portions through HG Consultant CMT, at some time in the past, over the past year, it was an internal decision to manage that in-house.
I see.
So those services did not go away. We just brought it into OWN and we took it over and
So in the big picture, it saves us money to consolidate managers.
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
This 143,000, is that something that is the burden on the city alone, or is that something that the federal government will, someone else, or we have any funding sources that can help us absorb this cost?
There is, we have pre-obligation dollars in there. Pulling that back up. Greg, you remember what that number was I just showed you? We have pre-obligation funds of $577,750 for the design phase. Of course, that number got shifted down. There's $366,000 of federal funds that contribute to the preliminary engineering design. We will get funded for. So a little more than half was in there. I think it was 80.
So a little more than half of 143.
Well, we have a maximum of 366. We haven't asked for any reimbursement yet. Sandra and I haven't done that yet. So they've capped it out, but bottom line is you got a cap of the Chrissy grant amount.
Okay.
Now, whether anything above that, the city's responsible. So when this thing first started, it was basically a We got $250,000 from the railroad. That's their share. MoDOT has contributed 175, Sandra, for design max, and then MoDOT puts in another $250,000.
And then our funding source is the use tax, because it's public safety and this project.
So anything, so we'll get $675,000 of funding outside sources that'll go towards the project, plus the Chrissy grant. Anything, the difference between get to the end, ribbon cutting to the Chrissy grant plus this other funding is the city's responsibility.
Transportation tax? Or
It's
just
use
tax?
use tax.
Use tax.
Yeah, use tax is designated for public safety, fire, police, and this project.
Oh,
That's happening.
that's right.
Yep.
How much will this? Do we have enough in there to cover this?
I mean, the use tax is.
Okay, because it's ongoing.
Yeah.
So we okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we bring in what use tax 200.
The use tax is really strong right now.
Yeah.
It's one of our stronger taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be obligated until this project is completed or ribbon cutting. So.
Okay. Well, if we don't do this, what happens? The project stops.
Oh, please don't say that. I hope not. I'm not stopping. This was one of Jerry Derricker's last things he wanted to get done. So.
Okay.
You remember, Kim?
All right. I think I understand it. I think I understand it. Any other discussion?
If I could, I remiss if I could introduce my staff. We have
Naomi.
Naomi Daldalian, who is the project manager for this project, and Hannah Samuelson. She is our project coordinator. Without these guys, all of this stuff doesn't happen. And Kevin, obviously you know Kevin, so I don't think I need to make an
Are you guys
introduction.
Monett voters? Got to ask that question. Okay.
We're from the north. Sorry.
The north?
The north.
Could
We're
you
up
be
in
more
Kansas,
general?
Kansas City area.
Kansas City. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming down. I know it's a long drive. So.
Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure meeting
We'll wait
you.
till June.
Yeah, you can wait till June.
Okay, we're going to wait till June to vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be good. All right. I want to thank you all. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much. Appreciate your time.
We'll have a better number allocation as to what Kevin was just mentioning in these grants, MoDOT and more.
Yeah.
So this number by June will be different? Would you
No.
say? No, this is it?
No, the numbers, as of right now, for the professional engineering side, the design side of this project, these numbers are going to be firm. And actually, you have to look at the fact that some of these are estimated numbers because we don't know what the changes are going to happen over the next 90 days. So there may be minimal, and then we'll see less. So, I mean, these were what we thought.
It's a projected amount, not
Correct.
exact.
Yeah, correct.
I understand.
Correct. Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down.
Appreciate it. Pleasure meeting you all.
You guys driving back to Kansas City now?
We are. Well, maybe after Kevin has fun with us yet. But
He's going to buy you lunch?
I'm not going to bite on that
Sure,
one. I'm not going to
He's gonna buy you-
I think you need to get on the road if you're expecting fun.
You need to get lunch out of it.
I know, right?
Kevin's an old man.
we're excited about the project.
Yeah.
Well, we are
It's a really
too.
good
I mean,
project to be done.
I mean, city's been working
The
on
whole
it for a long
community
time,
is.
so,
Yep.
and we need it. We certainly need it for emergency service, if nothing else. Appreciate it very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
All right. Oh, I do. Best thing ever.
Item F.
Discussion regarding the Central Avenue Focus Group application for the Central Avenue Improvement Project.
So this ties into the approval from the council that we move forward with option F of all the options that we presented to you. And part of that option F is that we form focus groups to look at the intersection of Central, Broadway, Highway 37 right there. So we've got the application done. Mr. Gervais has put it in electronic form, so it's ready to go on the website, that we can push it out to the public, and then council can recommend and tell folks to fill out the application. But this is really just
Yeah,
information.
I understand. So is there a particular number we're looking at folks, or is there multiple focus groups?
There are 2 focus groups, and I don't know the exact number, but I can get that to you. I don't think it was spelled out, so we can probably define how many members we want.
And I'm thinking, I mean, we need to go with what the standard is, whatever the business standard is. As I recall, it's somewhere around 8 to 10, could be more than that. So we'd have 2 focus groups, and looking at the application there, they're going to meet twice each focus group. And we're going to take that input to see, as input to what we eventually do with Broadway and Central.
That's correct.
Okay.
And Trans Systems will lead the focus groups.
That was my question.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have facilitator. And
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if I may join in on this. Doesn't Trans Systems already have 4 or more necessary ideas for that corner?
They've got multiple ideas. Now they just want to get input from the community and see what direction we might want to go.
So, okay, so the presentation will be through them.
Yeah, and then it's long-term because, MoDOT pulled back their funding for the project there. So then we'd have to go to MoDOT and re-engage in all that process again, whatever option or options we wanted to present to MoDOT.
They pulled all the funding for the roundabout,
Yeah.
Central, or both?
For the roundabout.
That's all they were
Yeah,
funding,
that's all
was the
they were.
It was
roundabout.
for the whole project.
So we're going to go to them for this also.
They're going to have to be involved because it's a state highway.
Depending on what the outcome is, right?
Yeah,
If this focus group yields that people don't want to do anything.
Is there a timeline?
Oh, there's always a timeline with MoDOT. Projects are always 5 to 10 years, sometimes 20 years out. So you got to get in the pipeline. You got to get it approved by committees, and then you just keep.
Is it necessary we follow this route then? Is that a necessary factor?
That's what you all voted to do
I get that,
and
but
pursue.
That's part of option F.
Yeah.
That's what we promised
You all
the community.
approved it. Yeah.
I remember a vote.
With the results of the initiative petition.
So if you choose not to do it, you'd have to go back and change the vote.
And I think it's a good idea to get members of the community involved.
I'm looking at the timeline, so. Okay, thank you.
So I don't think we need to vote on it, but all you're looking is for kind of.
No, yeah, all I'm looking for, this was, work session. This is the application, unless you all see something wrong with the application and we start getting it out to the public.
I don't have an issue with going ahead with it.
Right, and will this be a council vote as to who's on that board?
It's got to be council approved, I believe. And I think we set a timeline, advertise to, I'm looking at Mike, but advertise today and try and get it to the June meeting. I think that's the timeline that Kevin Sprinkler and I said.
Yeah, if you scroll down, it is to get a cross section of the community.
Yeah.
Okay. And it says, you can go down, focus group application. So it's just not us picking who we think, it is, we want to look at it from the cross section of the whole community.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it, I thought I saw it in there.
Yeah, broad cross section.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
But we want to get something representative of the entire community.
Okay.
I don't see, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay,
And post this.
we'll launch it.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay. Kelly, next one.
Discussion regarding Citizen Academy for the operations and governance of the city of Monett, Missouri.
So it's pretty common for cities to do citizen academies. Sometimes they'll do airport academies, police academy for citizens, fire academies. So the last cities that I've worked in, I've done a citizens academy for governance. But my idea is let's roll all that in together. So we would do this in the fall, work with all of our departments. The purpose of this really is to, one, get people understanding how government works in Monett, get them involved in committees and commissions, and have a pool of people that we know have interest in the community, best interest of the community, those kinds of things. And it's really PR. So, but it's just a concept. I don't think there's a need for a vote. It's just something that staff would put together and we would move forward on.
Well, that key word there is no cost, or
Yeah.
generally no cost. And so, yeah.
Well, there's no cost to any participant.
Yeah.
Because there's a cost on us.
Right.
But it's minimal.
Yeah.
It's not very much for classroom
It
presentations.
just
It's
was
time.
released about 20 years ago.
Well, I don't see any issue with it. Is it like one day for week one, one day for week two?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just probably those are Mondays. And so it'd be an hour and a half probably per visit or per session. So.
Yeah, they're not going to be sequestered. So.
No. No lodging. Yeah.
No per diem. No. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. And to educate the public on what we do and why we do. And so I can't see the downside of this.
Did this come from your city department head yesterday?
No,
Meeting?
it's
Or is
a
this
concept
your
that I
focus?
did.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I came from, peculiar. It's called Peculiar 101, which is a little catchier than Monett 101. But anyway, but yeah, it's just I did. And like we've heard, police departments do this a lot, fire departments. Obviously, Monett did it 20 years ago. It's just PR for cities.
The Chamber of Commerce used to have a program. I don't know if they still do. Leadership Monett. It's very similar to this, broader.
And that's a good point. I've actually met with the chamber, showed them this because I didn't want to compete or conflict or in any way, and they're on board. So,
Good.
Yeah.
The 2009 graduate.
Okay.
Leadership program. Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other discussion?
Nope, that's all I think.
Okay, I think we're good to proceed with this. Go ahead and make plans. All right, let's go to item 8.
Discussion regarding contract development for renting city-owned properties for events and activities.
So this is a long-term discussion. I believe Commissioner Gaspar may have started this, and I don't know when.
2009.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Yeah. But
felt like it.
This is really putting together, right now we have MOUs with what I would call our major event host. This would replace that with a formal contract. The main contract is the only thing that I put in your packet. There are addendums and what I'd call subcontracts for specific buildings that we have, casino, all of those. But everyone would fill out this main contract. It's been reviewed by legal at least 3 times with me, and Commissioner's been involved with this, staff, and I think we've made all the adjustments to it, and we're ready to put it into work.
So this is just the main body.
This is the main contract.
This is the main body. Then we do contracts with the chamber, with Main Street.
This is the contract that they would sign, and then whatever facility they use, either the Jerry B. Hall Pavilion, the casino, whatever that is, then there's another addendum that speaks specifically to that facility.
Okay. Right. But is there, let's take the pavilion. So First on Front wants to rent the pavilion. Is that going to be the same as if Main Street rents a pavilion?
It'd be based on a fee schedule. Is that what
Fee
you're
schedule?
Yeah.
Same fee schedule?
Yep,
Okay.
same fee schedule.
All right.
Yep.
I think we need to do this.
It needs to be.
Remember last
Absolutely.
summer we looked at it when we were going through that stuff with Main Street. And there was nothing set there. It was sometimes handshakes, sometimes this depends on what it was. So I think this is a big step forward.
And I think our timeline on this is to get back together with those organizations in either August or September and walk them through this. We'll send it to them, then we'll come in, question and answer, why are we doing this, all that kind of thing.
This is also going to be provided to the general public. So anyone who wants to rent the facility for a wedding reception, it'll be the same document. We had disparate documents previously. That's
I
now
think
been
it's a big step forward.
resolved.
And there's an application that's been redone. Commissioner Gaspar was instrumental in that, but the application comes in first, comes into our staff. They can review it. What facilities do they need? What are they looking to do? Checking dates.
Oh.
Then they can go through this process.
The one question I had, and this has to do with, we do something with food trucks down there. The way I read it is that the organization that's responsible for that event is the one that collects and ensures that there's business license for the food trucks.
Yeah, so this contract states that if you use food trucks, they have to make sure that all the license and the health permits are in place. If they're not, the day of the event, we send our inspector down there, which is Captain,
Kelly, right? Yeah.
No, Captain Stillwagon.
Oh, you were going down there to eat? Is that what you were doing when I saw you down there?
I have no
I thought
clue.
you were actually working.
If they don't have the documentation, then they're asked to leave.
That's fair. It needs to be in writing. This is with this security, right?
Correct. This protects the city.
Yep.
Where we had no protection previously.
Perfect. Yeah, I like it.
And for that matter, it also protects the renter.
Well, it does, because it's a contract with them, and then there is a fee schedule that they can plan on in the budgets when we do all this.
That's correct.
And eventually, I'd like to look at the other side of it, because we spend a lot of, if we're going to do the pavilion down there and the stage, that's a lot of man hours.
I think we've taken a lot of that into consideration.
Okay. All right.
But, we're still doing an outreach city-wise.
Understand.
You know what I mean? We're not recouping everything. We're still a big contributor.
I'm not suggesting that we do try to recoup.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Dunn's been a part of all these conversations.
That's what makes me nervous. Sorry.
Thanks, Randy.
Well,
Appreciate that.
anytime, Chip. We're all... Okay. So this we vote on at the next city council meeting. Is that what they proceed?
I think it will be a resolution that we're just going to implement these at the next council meeting is what I'm leaning towards.
Okay.
Is that enough time to get it all legal?
It is.
It's all done. It's all done.
Thank you.
This is the final.
Yeah, it's been
what you're
reviewed.
reviewing is the final version.
It's been reviewed multiple times by legal. Prior to my coming here and then after.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the effort on this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll set that up as a resolution for the next city council meeting. All right. Item I.
Discussion regarding parking on Broadway.
So I've been approached by a couple of individuals from down on Broadway. Some concerns about we're getting more permanent living space down there. There's an Airbnb down there. There's a lot of signs down there that are only 2-hour parking. Some of the businesses want to retain the 2-hour parking. Some of them they don't care. So what I'm asking from council is that we put staff together. I would suggest myself, Chief Dowd, Chief Pennington, and Mr. Dunn, and we just survey the Main Street businesses and others, and we take a real good survey, and then we put together a better parking plan for Broadway. Possibly removing some of the 2-hour parking, keeping some of the 2-hour parking, but we would just do a complete analysis of can we change some things down there. And again, we would get citizens' input and not just change without notifying.
So I have to admit that I wasn't aware that we had 2-hour parking downtown. I'm not sure. Do we have signage everywhere?
There's multiple signs.
It's by ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's was going to be my argument here is that, because are we monitoring that? No kidding. Okay.
They're not chucking tires like they used to,
That's illegal.
Okay, so I'll just say up front, parking meters are out of the question.
They are.
Those were removed a long time ago. No, we had parking meters at one time.
So really all you're asking for is to get the staff together to come up with.
All I'm wanting, I want you to know that we're working on this, because if you hear anything or what are they doing downtown, or they're asking us questions, we're putting out surveys, that's what we're doing. Right? We're trying to come up with a parking plan. It's going to be a change of ordinance if there's changes, so we've got to put all of our analysis together.
All right. And
it's going to take us a little while because we've got departments that are doing other work right now, and we just gotta work this together. So.
And you can credit Monett Main Street for bringing, revitalization to that area.
Yeah.
We now have, we're about to have nine lofts on the 300 block in that 3-story bank building with the retail downstairs. We got 2 B&Bs. We got more in the future of moving that way, and we need areas because these B&Bs can't park. If they're staying overnight, was the discussion, they can't stay in the parking spot in front of the B&B because they have to move it because of the ordinance and the monitoring that the police does for enforcement. So I would love to see, I hate to say this, but parallel instead of the diagonal.
Get fewer.
Let's let them come up with a plan.
But then, you got opportunity for these businesses that do have employees that park right in front of the store that need to park someplace else. Parking's been a problem downtown for a while. Yes. Forever. Okay, that's a while.
Well, a parking garage would make sense to me, but that's out in the future.
That's all I have on that.
Okay. County motions to convene in a closed session. Next regular city council meeting is on June 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Monett School District Boardroom. Any motions to convene in the closed session?
I'll make a motion to convene in a closed session to discuss matters related to personnel or a negotiated contract pursuant to 610021, and who is the participants for closed?
All the commissioners, city clerk, and myself.
So everyone at the table except Mike.
Yeah.
Second.
Call a roll.
Well, do you?
Mayor Radyberg,
Yes.
Commissioner King Gaspar,
Aye.
Commissioner Darren DeVito.
Thank you.
That's how a motion should be made. That long and detailed.
Good job. I want to be this meeting. Thank you.